What's up guys, I'm Håkon abroad and I just got back from spending a few days in Seville, Spain, one of Spain's most popular cities. From stunning Moorish architecture, beautiful streets, tapas and insane amounts of beautiful historical landmarks, this city absolutely blew me away. And I just have to talk about this place. So anyways, here's my list of some must-do things to do and see while you're in Seville, Spain. So anyways, let's get into it. Now let's start off with one of the most iconic spots in all of Seville, Plaza de España. Now this is a massive half-circled plaza that was built back in 1929 for the Ibero-American Exposition, and it was designed by Aníbal González and is honestly one of the most impressive places in the city and a really cool place to visit. Now you got canals, bridges, colorful and symbolic shapes and tiles representing the different regions of Spain, and these are everywhere. Just so much to look at, so much details, and yeah, it also has a huge open space in the middle of the plaza where you can just walk around and take it all in. And it's really beautiful to firstly stand in the middle of the plaza and just admire the view of the general buildings, and then climb up into them and then admire the view from above and from the different angles. And like I said, you can also enter this plaza and walk around in some of these areas, both on the first floor but also on the second floor. And one thing to mention, right in the middle of this plaza, as in the middle entrance of it, there will also sometimes be a live small flamingo show that you can also check out if you want to do that. And it is free too, so I mean, seeing a free live flamingo dancing show is pretty cool and a nice bonus. But anyways, once you're done at the plaza, right outside the plaza you also have the Parque de María Luisa park. Now this is a big beautiful park filled with trees, fountains and lots of wild animals and birds just chilling around in ponds. And there are so many ducks around just chilling. And it is overall just a perfect place to just chill a bit after having visited the plaza. Now next up on the list we have the Royal Alcázar of Sevilla, and this is one of the most beautiful places in Seville. Now the Royal Alcázar is a royal palace originally built by Moorish rulers during the Islamic occupation of Spain, and you can totally see that in the design. There's a lot of detailed tiles, arches and courtyards that really give off more of an Arabic vibe. And the gardens are also a big highlight here, with palm trees, fountains and a lot of wild animals similar to the previous park, like for example ducks, peacocks and more. And I would also recommend that you climb up to or into these walls that are within the Alcázar for some great views of the garden and the Alcázar in general. And the view from up is just so incredible. It was just so nice to just walk around there and admire the view, so totally something you should do. And although the ticket to enter this comes in at 18 USD, it is totally worth it. But there is also a discount for students, or if you're an older person or even children can enter for free. And I would also recommend that you book this ticket a few days in advance, because when I was there in the beginning of March the tickets were actually sold out about 2 to 3 days in advance. Now right next to the entrance of the Alcázar we also have one of Seville's most famous sites, which is the Seville Cathedral, which a fun fact is actually the 4th largest church in the entire world, which is pretty cool. Now it is absolutely huge and the inside is just as impressive as the outside. Now the tickets for this cathedral can sell out, so I would recommend you book it at least a tiny bit in advance, as tickets were sold out about 1 day in advance when I was there in the beginning of March. So not too bad, but still, if you are there on a tight schedule, book them ideally a few days in advance, especially if you're visiting during summer. And speaking of a ticket, the general ticket will cost you about 15 USD or 13 euros. Now once you are inside, just walk around and admire the general cathedral because it is so impressive. Now you can also climb up to the La Giralda tower as long as your ticket includes that, and this is the bell tower, which offers some great views of the city. Now it is a bit of a walk to get up there, but it's not really that bad and it is definitely worth it. And speaking of the walk up there are actually no stairs there, just a long spiraling ramp, which makes the walk up there pretty easy. And it was quite full up there, so you might have to fight people for the space up there, but still some great views from the top, so 100% worth it. Now right next to the cathedral and Alcázar we also have the Archivo General de Indias, which is a museum that holds documents from Spain's colonial history. Now it's not a super long visit, but it is certainly an interesting one if you're into history and if you do have some extra time. And it is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which makes it a bit more special, and it's a pretty cool place to just explore a bit. And it is also free to enter, which of course is a bonus, because this means that it won't really cost you anything else by stopping here. And although this point kind of relates to the previous thing we mentioned, which was the Seville Cathedral, but your cathedral ticket will also usually include a free entry to the Church of the Divine Saviour, which is a smaller church but it still has a really nice inside and is definitely worth a quick stop, especially since it's included in your ticket price anyways, at least usually is. But anyways, once you're done with all these sites, we're gonna head down by the river and we're gonna check out the Torre del Oro, which is a small watchtower that used to help control access to the city. However, today it is used as a small museum. Now there is quite a bit to look at inside, especially about Spain's like ship history and stuff like that, and you can also climb up to the top of the roof of this tower for some pretty cool views of Sevilla. And once you're done at this museum, you can also exit it and then generally just walk along the river. Now this river and area in general is just great for walking, relaxing, chilling, grabbing something to drink somewhere nearby, and personally I just really enjoyed relaxing here. On multiple occasions I just headed down to this river, just sat down somewhere a bit away from the people and just relaxed by the river, chilled a bit in the warm Spanish sun, and even fed some ducks. And it was a great spot to just generally chill down a bit on my trip. And just a 6-minute walk from Torre del Oro, you got Plaza de Toros, which are the bullrings of Seville. Now this is actually one of the most famous bullrings in Spain, which makes it a pretty cool visit. And even if you're not into bullfighting, it's still an important part of the city's history, and there is also a museum inside the walls where you can learn a lot about bullfighting, the traditions behind it, and of course the history behind it. So it is a pretty cool place to just make a quick stop and check out. And you can also of course sit out on the seating all around there and just admire the view of the bullring. Although when I was there was a big tent in the middle because they were doing some construction or something, but still a cool place to check out. Now a bit more inlands, further away from other attractions, and a bit more low-key, we got the Casa de Pilatos. Now this is a beautiful palace that mixes a bit more of the Spanish and Italian styles with detailed courtyards and lots of cool decorations. And it will cost you about 14 USD or so to enter, but it is totally worth it. And this kind of felt like a smaller version of the Alcázar. And it is also a lot more quieter than some of the other sites like the Alcázar, and it feels quite a bit more relaxed even though there were quite a few people there. So I 100% recommend checking this one out too. But anyways, next on the list we're back in a bit inlands and we're gonna check out Setas de Sevilla. Now this is one of the more modern and unique spots in Sevilla and is also known as the Metropole Parasol. Now it is a huge wooden structure in the middle of the city, and a fun fact about it, it is actually considered to be one of the largest wooden structures in the world, and to enter it will cost you 12 euros as a student or about 16 euros to enter as an adult. And once you enter it you can take an elevator up to the top and then you can walk around on the walkways to get some really nice views of Seville. And you get views from all sorts of angles too, so while you're walking around up here you kind of get a panoramic view of Seville, which is pretty cool. And if you decide to visit in the afternoon, then I've heard watching the sunset from here can be pretty cool. Now heading back down to the Seville River, if you just head a bit over the river and one of the bridges, you can enter the beautiful neighborhood of Triana. And Triana is one of the more traditional neighborhoods in Seville. Now it has a lot of colorful buildings and generally just a really cool vibe. So yeah, just walk around a bit, explore a bit, check out some of the sights here, maybe grab some sweets or some food here, and just in general admire this beautiful neighborhood because there's so much you can do here. Now you can also choose for it to be a pretty small and short stop, like even just an hour or maybe even less if you just want to check out the main places, or you can easily spend a lot more time here. But anyways, then finally on the list I am gonna mention the Seville Aquarium. Now this is a nice extra stop if you got some time. Now just to mention, this is not something I would choose particularly over something else, which is why it is last on the list, but it is still a pretty cool aquarium and it is a pretty cool place to just explore. And I especially recommend this if you're traveling with, for example, children or your family, because it did seem like more of a family activity because there were lots of families and stuff while I was there. Now this aquarium isn't huge, but it has a lot of different marine animals including sharks, tropical fishes, turtles, even axolotls and a few different animals like that. So it is a pretty cool place to explore, especially if you're into like marine animals and that sort of stuff. But yeah, and like I mentioned, it is a bit more of a chill activity and it can definitely be a good break from all the history stuff. But anyways guys, that is it for my Seville top 10. Now from incredible historical sites to one of the biggest cathedrals in the world, insane amounts of history, this city has so much to offer and I was actually quite sad to leave it. But anyways, let me know your favorite spot in Seville down in the comments down below, and anyways, thank you all so much for watching and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.